The doorbell camera notification lit up my phone at 3:17 a.m. on a Tuesday night. I wasn't supposed to be awake. I was supposed to be in Chicago, finishing up the quarterly investor meetings for my tech startup. But the flight got canceled due to weather, and I took a red-eye back home instead of staying another night at the hotel. I opened the app, expecting to see a stray cat or maybe a delivery driver who got the wrong address. What I saw instead made my blood run cold. My wife, Jessica, was stumbling up the front steps, her heels in one hand, her hair a complete mess. And right behind her, with his hand on her lower back, guiding her toward the door like he owned the place, was a man I'd never seen before. She was laughing. That deep, breathless laugh I hadn't heard from her in years. He leaned in and whispered something in her ear. She covered her mouth, still giggling, and fumbled with her keys. Then she turned around, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed him. Not a peck, not a goodbye. A real kiss. The kind that said this wasn't the first time. My heart stopped. I watched them pull apart. He said something else, and she nodded eagerly before disappearing inside. He stood there for a moment, adjusted his jacket, and walked back to a black BMW parked across the street. The timestamp said 3:17 a.m. She had texted me at 11 p.m. saying she was staying at Sarah's because they had too much wine and she didn't want to drive. Sarah lived in the opposite direction. My name is Ethan Reed. I'm 38 years old, and up until that moment, I thought I had the perfect life. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone and nothing exciting ever happened. My father was a mechanic, my mother a school teacher. We weren't rich, but we were happy. They taught me the value of hard work, of honesty, of treating people the way you want to be treated. I was always good with computers. While other kids were playing sports, I was taking apart old machines and putting them back together. By the time I graduated high school, I had taught myself to code. I got a scholarship to Ohio State, majored in computer science, and moved to San Francisco the week after graduation. The startup scene was brutal, but I loved it. I worked 18-hour days, slept on office couches, and ate ramen for dinner more times than I could count. My first 2 companies failed. The third one almost did too. But the fourth one was different. I created a cybersecurity platform that could detect threats before they happened. Within 3 years, we had contracts with Fortune 500 companies. Within 5, we were valued at over $200 million. I owned 47% of the company. But here's the thing. I never told anyone. Not my friends, not my extended family, and certainly not Jessica. When we met, I was driving a 10-year-old Honda and living in a modest apartment. She was 24, working as a junior marketing coordinator at a small advertising firm. She had blonde hair, bright green eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. Our first date was at a taco truck. She ordered 3 different kinds and ate them all without apologizing. I knew right then that she was special. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. A simple ring, a simple wedding, a simple life. That's what she always said she wanted. The first 5 years were good, really good. We bought our first house together. Well, I bought it, but she didn't know the difference. We took vacations to Hawaii, to Europe, to the Caribbean. We talked about having kids someday, about growing old together, about all the things couples talk about when they think they have forever. But looking back now, I can see the cracks forming around year 6. She started complaining more about my work hours, about my boring lifestyle, about the fact that I'd rather stay home and cook dinner than go to expensive restaurants. "You used to be more fun," she said once, after I declined to go to some club with her work friends. "You've gotten so comfortable." I thought she was just stressed from her job. She'd been promoted to marketing manager by then, and the pressure was real. Late nights at the office, weekend retreats, team building events that always seemed to go until midnight. I trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of I love you every night before bed. 8 years of thinking I had found my person. And now I was staring at a phone screen, watching my wife kiss another man at 3 a.m. and wondering how long I'd been a fool. I didn't confront her right away. I know that might sound strange, but I needed to understand the full scope of what I was dealing with. When Jessica came downstairs the next morning, she looked perfectly normal, fresh-faced, hair still damp from the shower, wearing the silk robe I bought her for Christmas. She poured herself a cup of coffee and smiled at me like nothing had happened. "Morning, babe. When did you get back?" "Early flight," I said, keeping my voice even. "Weather cleared up faster than expected." "Oh, that's great." She kissed my cheek. Her lips were cold. "Sarah and I had such a good time last night. We watched old movies and drank way too much wine. I'm definitely feeling it today." She laughed. That same laugh from a video. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone at her and demand answers. But I didn't. "Sounds fun," I said instead. "I'm glad you got some girl time." That afternoon, while she was at work, I started digging. The Doorbell camera had a cloud storage feature I'd never really used. I logged in and discovered it saved footage for up to 6 months. 6 months of every single person who walked up to our front door. What I found made me sick. The man from last night. I counted 27 separate instances of him arriving at my house over the past 4 months. Sometimes at 10 p.m., sometimes at midnight. Once at 2 in the afternoon on a day Jessica said she was working from home because she wasn't feeling well. Every single time, he walked in like he owned the place. And every single time, Jessica greeted him at the door with the same kind of kiss I saw last night. For months, for 4 months, another man had been coming to my house, sleeping in my bed, and my wife had been laughing and smiling like she'd won the lottery. My stomach dropped. I started cross-referencing dates with her calendar, her stories, her excuses. Girls' night with Sarah appeared 14 times in the last 4 months. Sarah's husband confirmed she hadn't seen Jessica in over 6 months. Working late showed up 11 times. Her company's parking garage logs showed she left at 5 p.m. every single one of those days. The lies were everywhere. They were woven so deeply into our daily life that I couldn't believe I'd never noticed. But the worst part was finding out who he was. If you're enjoying this story, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss how this all unfolds. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. And drop a comment below. Have you ever discovered a truth that completely shattered everything you thought you knew? I'd love to hear your stories. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Finding out who he was. His name was Brandon Cole. It took me 3 days of digging, but the BMW's license plate led me right to him. 36 years old. Sales director at Morris and Hayes Marketing. The same company where Jessica worked. Not just a co-worker. Her direct superior. I looked him up on LinkedIn. Tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of guy who probably peaked in college football and never let anyone forget it. His profile was full of buzzwords like synergy and disruptive thinking, and photos of him at conferences and charity golf events. I stared at his profile picture for a long time. He had that confident smirk, that easy charm, the kind of man who walked into a room and expected everyone to notice. I looked in the mirror. Average height, average build, brown hair going gray at the temples. The kind of man who walked into a room and blended into the background. Is this what you wanted? I wondered. Someone who looked like him? He was married, too. 2 kids. A wife named Lisa, who posted about their blessed life on Instagram every other day. Another family. Another set of lives that were about to be destroyed. But I wasn't done investigating yet. I needed to know everything. Every detail. Every lie. I needed to understand exactly how deep this betrayal went. Jessica and I had a shared phone plan. I'd never thought to check the records before. Why would I? I trusted her completely. But now, trust was a luxury I could no longer afford. The record showed over 2,000 text messages between her and Brandon over the past 4 months. Some days, they exchanged over 50 messages. I couldn't see the content, but the pattern was clear. Morning, noon, night. Whenever I was at work or traveling, the messages would explode. I found hotel charges on her personal credit card, for charges at the Marquis Hotel downtown, all on dates when I was out of town. Each charge was for a single night, checking in at 7 p.m. and checking out the next morning. The image burned into my brain like a brand. I couldn't stop picturing what those hotel rooms looked like at midnight, the two of them together, doing things that should have been ours. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face in those videos, laughing, glowing, more alive than I'd seen her in years. I found the texts, not between her and Brandon. Those were probably on a secret app, but between her and her best friend Amanda. Girl, I can't stop thinking about last night. Be as something else. I know I should feel guilty, but I just don't. Like, E is fine, but B makes me feel alive. The way he looks at me. He never looked at me like that. Not once in 8 years. He told me I'm the most beautiful woman he's ever been with. When's the last time he said something like that? Last night was the best I've ever had. And I mean ever. Sorry, not sorry at all. Each message was a knife twisting deeper into my chest. E, that was me. Ethan. Fine. 8 years of building a life together, and I was fine, while this stranger made her feel alive. I wanted to throw my laptop across the room. I wanted to drive to Brandon's house and smash his face in. I wanted to scream until my throat was raw, but I didn't. The silence in that room was deafening. I sat in my home office, staring at the screen, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Not sadness, not anger, something else. Clarity. I could have confronted her that night. I could have thrown the evidence in her face and watched her scramble to explain. But that's not what I did. Instead, I waited. I watched. I gathered more proof. Screenshots of everything. Downloaded every video from the Doorbell cam. Saved every text, every receipt, every lie. 2 weeks later, I was ready. She came home from working late, which meant drinks with Brandon at a bar downtown, and found me sitting in the living room with the lights off. Ethan, she flipped on the light. What are you doing sitting in the dark? Thinking, I said. She laughed nervously. About what? I picked up my phone and pressed play. The doorbell footage filled the screen. Her and Brandon, kissing at 3:17 a.m. Her face went white. Ethan, I can... Don't. My voice was calm, eerily calm. Don't insult me by lying again. She stood there, frozen, her purse still on her shoulder. For the first time in 8 years, I saw real fear in her eyes. How long? I asked. Ethan, please, let me explain. How long? Her shoulders sagged. 7 months. 7 months. 2 more than the doorbell footage showed. He'd been in my home for 4 of those months. Why? She started crying. I don't know. It just happened. He was there, and you're always traveling, and I felt so alone and so lonely that you let him into our home, our bedroom, our bed. It wasn't like that. I have 27 videos of him walking into this house, Jessica. 27. What exactly was it like? She had no answer for that. I stood up. I want you out by the end of the week. You can take whatever's yours. The lawyers will handle the rest. Lawyers? Her voice cracked. Ethan, we can work through this. It was a mistake. A terrible, horrible mistake. But we can fix it. We can go to therapy. We can... No. That one word silenced her. I've already filed for divorce. You'll be served tomorrow. I walked toward the stairs. Wait. She grabbed my arm. What about the house? What about our savings? What about them? I turned to look at her. Did you think about any of that when you were spreading your legs for your boss? She recoiled like I'd slapped her. This is my house, Jessica. My name is on the deed. My money paid for it. And as for our savings, I smiled. You're about to find out just how little you actually know about our finances. I left her standing in the living room, sobbing. I didn't look back. Here's what Jessica didn't know. She thought we lived a modest life because that's all we could afford. A nice house in a decent neighborhood. 2 cars. Annual vacations. Comfortable but not luxurious. She had no idea that I'd been funneling most of my income into investment accounts she'd never seen. No idea that my 47% stake in Tech Shield Security was worth over $94 million. And growing. No idea that the boring tech job she always complained about had made me wealthier than she could ever imagine. I kept it secret for a reason. When we first started dating, I'd seen how some women reacted when they found out a guy had money. The way their eyes lit up with dollar signs. The way their behavior shifted from genuine to calculated. Jessica had seemed different. She fell in love with me when I had nothing. Or at least, I thought she did. Now I understood it wasn't love. It was convenience. I was stable, reliable, and present until I wasn't present enough, and someone shinier came along. But my wealth wasn't just a secret from her. It was a weapon. I hired the best divorce attorney money could buy, Harrison Blackwell, a shark in a three-piece suit who had never lost a case. With the evidence you've gathered, he told me, and the prenup she signed thinking you were middle class, she'll be lucky to walk away with her own clothes. Ah, yes, the prenup. Jessica had laughed when I suggested it. We don't have anything to protect, babe, but if it makes you feel better, sure. She signed without reading the fine print. In the event of infidelity, the cheating party forfeits all rights to marital assets, alimony, and property. All of it. But I wasn't just going after Jessica. I wanted Brandon too. And as it turned out, fate had given me the perfect tool. 3 years ago, I made a series of angel investments in promising startups. Most of them failed. One of them didn't. That company was called Advantage Pro, a marketing analytics platform that had grown rapidly in the B2B space. I owned 31% of it through an LLC that couldn't be traced back to me. And their biggest client? Morris and Hayes Marketing, the same company where Jessica and Brandon worked. One phone call to the CEO of Advantage Pro was all it took. Pull the contract with Morris and Hayes. I said, effective immediately. Ethan, that's their biggest account. It'll cripple their marketing division. I know. There was a pause. Can I ask why? Personal matter. He didn't ask again. When you own 31% of a company, people don't question your decisions. Within a week, Morris and Hayes lost their biggest revenue stream. Within 2 weeks, they announced layoffs. Within a month, the sales division, Brandon's division, was eliminated entirely. Brandon Cole, hotshot sales director, found himself unemployed with a mortgage he couldn't afford and 2 kids in private school. But that wasn't enough. I made sure Lisa Cole received an anonymous package. Inside was a USB drive containing every video from my doorbell camera, along with printouts of the hotel receipts and the text Jessica had sent Amanda. Let him explain that to his wife. The divorce from Lisa came fast and brutal. She took the house, the cars, and majority custody of the kids. Brandon was left with nothing but his wounded ego and a reputation destroyed beyond repair. As for Jessica, the divorce proceedings were almost comical. She showed up with a lawyer from one of those strip mall legal offices, expecting to fight for half of our modest assets. When Harrison presented the actual financial disclosure, the investment accounts, the company's stake, the real estate holdings, her jaw literally dropped. This can't be right, she whispered. You're worth $94 million, Harrison said helpfully. Give or take, depending on market fluctuations. Jessica's lawyer looked like he was going to faint. And due to the prenuptial agreement, Harrison continued, which clearly stipulates forfeiture in the case of documented infidelity, my client is entitled to retain 100% of marital assets. That's not fair. Jessica shouted. I didn't know he had this much money. Ignorance, the judge said dryly, is not a legal defense. And I might add, Mrs. Reed, that your knowledge of your husband's finances has no bearing on the validity of the agreement you signed or the choices you made. She got nothing. Not the house. Not alimony. Not a single dollar of my fortune. The woman who threw away 8 years of marriage for a middle manager in a shiny BMW walked away with the clothes on her back and whatever was in her personal savings account, about $8,000, from what my lawyers could tell. But the best part came a month later. Brandon, desperate and broke, had the audacity to show up at my office. I don't know how he got past security. Maybe he talked his way in, flashing that salesman smile that had apparently worked so well on my wife. He found me in the conference room, finishing up a board meeting. When he walked in, The other executives looked at him like he was a lost puppy. "Who are you?" one of them asked. "I need to speak with Ethan Reed," he said. His voice was shaking. "Privately." I leaned back in my chair and smiled. "It's fine. You can say whatever you need to say in front of my colleagues." He looked around the room, suddenly aware that he was surrounded by people in $1,000 suits, sitting around a table worth more than his old annual salary. "I lost everything," he said. "My job, my wife, my kids. I know you did this. I don't know how, but I know it was you." "Interesting theory." I said, "I'm begging you. Call off whatever this is. Help me get back on my feet. I'll do anything. I'll apologize. You what?" I stood up. "You'll apologize for sleeping with my wife in my bed for 4 months? For kissing her at my front door at 3 a.m. while I was out of town? Thinking everything was fine? For telling her I was boring and that she deserved more?" His face went pale. "How do you know what I said?" "She told her friend Amanda everything." Fortunately for me, Amanda feels very guilty about keeping secrets. She was more than happy to share. Brandon's eyes widened. "You thought you were the big man, didn't you?" I walked toward him slowly. The sales director with the BMW and the expensive suits. The guy who could steal another man's wife and not face any consequences. I was standing inches from him now. "But here's the thing, Brandon. I'm not the boring software engineer Jessica described. I'm the anonymous investor whose single phone call destroyed your career. I'm the reason your wife now knows about every hotel room, every late-night text, every time you walked into my home like you owned it." He looked like he'd been hit by a truck. "You came here to beg? Fine, beg. But know this, nothing you say will change anything. You made your choices. Now you live with them." Security escorted him out. I never saw him again. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from Amanda. "I thought you should know," she said. "Jessica and Brandon tried to make it work." "Tried." "Yeah." After they both lost everything, they moved into a tiny apartment together. I guess they thought if they already sacrificed so much, they might as well see it through. I laughed. I couldn't help it. "How's that going?" "They broke up last week." Apparently, the magic disappears when you're eating ramen every night and fighting about who forgot to pay the electric bill. There was a bitter poetry to it. They had destroyed 2 marriages, 2 families, in pursuit of some fantasy. And when the fantasy met reality, when there were no more secrets, no more excitement, just the daily grind of being broken, there was nothing left. Jessica tried to reach out to me twice after that, once through a mutual friend and once through a handwritten letter. The letter arrived at my office. I didn't open it. I just had my assistant return it with a note attached. "Not interested." She sent it again. The same thing happened. I heard through a grapevine that she moved back to her hometown in Michigan. Her parents took her in, I think. She's working at a retail store now, making a little above minimum wage. Sometimes I wonder if she thinks about the life she threw away. The house, the vacations, the future that could have been. I don't think about her anymore. Brandon, from what I could gather, moved to another state, started over completely. New job, new city, new life. I hope he learned something from the experience, but I doubt it. Men like that rarely do. As for me, I sold my stake in TechShield 6 months after the divorce for $112 million. The company was acquired by a larger cybersecurity firm, and my share was worth even more than I'd estimated. I bought a new house, not just any house. A modern masterpiece on the coast, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the ocean that still takes my breath away every morning. I travel now, not for business, but for pleasure. I've seen the pyramids in Egypt, the northern lights in Iceland, the cherry blossoms in Japan. I'm doing all the things I always said I'd do someday. And 6 months ago, I met someone. Her name is Claire. She's a pediatric surgeon, brilliant and kind and completely uninterested in my money. Our first date was at a taco truck. I insisted, and she ordered 4 different kinds and ate them all without apologizing. Some things come full circle. I'm 39 now, sitting on the balcony of my beach house, writing this story. Claire is inside making breakfast. I can hear her singing along to something on the radio, completely off-key, and it makes me smile. A year ago, I was watching doorbell footage of my wife kissing another man at 3 a.m. Today, I'm happier than I've ever been. Life is strange that way. Sometimes the worst moment of your life becomes a catalyst for the best. Sometimes the things you thought would destroy you end up setting you free. Jessica thought she was trading up when she chose Brandon. She thought I was boring, predictable, just fine. She had no idea what she was walking away from. But I did. And that's the real revenge, isn't it? Not the money, not the career destruction, not the legal victories. It's living well. It's building a life so full and so joyful that you don't even remember to be angry anymore. It's waking up next to someone who loves you for exactly who you are, not who they think you should be. It's peace. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you for listening. I know it's a lot, but I wanted to share it because I think there's a lesson here for anyone who's ever been betrayed. The pain doesn't last forever. The shame isn't yours to carry. And no matter how dark things get, there's always a path forward. So if you're going through something similar right now, if you're staring at your own version of that doorbell footage and feeling like the world just ended, take a breath, make a plan, and when the time is right, execute it, not out of hatred, not out of cruelty, but because you deserve a life where you're not just fine. You deserve to be happy. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about justice, redemption, and life after betrayal. And drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after a devastating discovery? What helped you move forward? Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, the best revenge is living well.